You probably know the word distance, but have you used it as a verb? You will after today's episode. Hi there, it's Jeff, and this is Plain English, episode number 892. On Thursdays, we revisit episodes we've done in the past, episodes about English expressions. Now, a few years ago, we were talking about a very unpopular British politician. She eventually resigned as Prime Minister. But even before she did, ministers and other politicians were distancing themselves from her. They were distancing themselves from her. She was unpopular. One news magazine compared her to a head of lettuce, and other politicians were distancing themselves from her. So distance is used as a verb here. Now you're ready to learn how you can use the expression distance yourself. Before we start today's story, I'd just like to remind you that the podcast is just one part of how we can help you upgrade your English skills. At plainenglish.com, you can make faster progress with active learning strategies. You can take quizzes, do activities, listen to the fast version of the audio, watch video workshops, practice what you learn, and even join a live call with JR and me. It's all about helping you build your skills to become a better, more confident English speaker. Sound good? Go to plainenglish.com to start your free 14-day trial today. Now, let's jump into today's story. Today's expression is to distance yourself from something or someone. Normally, when we use the word distance, it's a noun. The distance from my house to my office is 6 miles. That's a noun, and it's very physical. You can measure distance. 6 miles, 6 meters, 16 kilometers. Well, the way I used it today is a little different. First of all, it's a verb. It's an action. And second of all, it's not physical at all. It's more verbal or metaphorical. If you distance yourself from something, you communicate that you're not involved with something. You don't want to be associated with something or someone. You can distance yourself from a person if you don't want to be associated with that person. You can distance yourself from an idea if you don't want to be associated with that idea, if you don't want people to think that that idea is yours. This happens in politics all the time. When a leader is popular, that leader has a lot of friends. But when leaders' popularity starts to decline, members of their parties start to distance themselves from the unpopular leaders. And that's how I used it in today's lesson. We were talking about Liz Truss, who was the Prime Minister of the UK for 48 days. When she released her first budget proposal, it was extremely unpopular. Immediately, members of her party started to distance themselves from her and from her budget. What can a politician do to distance himself from an unpopular leader? Well, this case had it all. First, an MP can say things like, "Well, I was never her biggest supporter in the first place." Or An MP can say, I support the party, but I can't support this policy. Or even, I've always been independent and I never supported this budget. Or, I like Liz Truss as a person, but I never thought she should be prime minister. These are things an MP can say to distance himself from the leader. So yes, they're still party members, but they don't want to be associated with these unpopular policies, and they don't want their names in the same sentence as the unpopular leader's name, in this case, Liz Truss. Notice, none of this involves actual distance. This is all verbal. These are other actions you take to avoid being associated with something or someone. So in the first weeks after the new budget, a lot of MPs were at pains to distance themselves from their unpopular leader. Have you ever seen online English courses that promise you'll be fluent in a very short period of time? All for a one-time payment of like $500? You may have noticed that I distance myself from those types of courses and claims. I don't want to be associated with that kind of exaggerated marketing. I'm not here to criticize it, but I just don't want to be associated with it. I distance myself from that. You won't see me making exaggerated claims. You won't hear me talking about languages like it's something you check off a list before a vacation. Now, there are obviously people who want those types of products, and that's fine. But I distance myself from those kinds of quick fix, easy way out, pay me one payment now, and in X weeks or months, you'll be fluent. I also hate the word fluent, and I distance myself from that word too, but that's another story. This happens when businesses sponsor celebrities. This is the same story over and over and over. All you have to do is change the names and change a few words. This story happens all the time. Today, it's Kanye West. He made anti-Semitic comments on Twitter, and now a lot of companies that he works with are distancing themselves from Kanye West. Creative Artists Agency, CAA, a talent agency, dropped him as a client. They don't want their name, their business, to be associated with Kanye West, so they said that he can't be a client anymore. Then they issued statements saying they don't support what he said. Gap and Adidas are also distancing themselves from Kanye West. This is just the same as in politics. When a celebrity is popular, the brands all want their names associated with that celebrity. When the celebrity says something offensive, gets arrested, is involved in a messy divorce, or whatever, then those brands distance themselves from the misbehaving celebrity. All of a sudden, it's not quite as much fun to be associated with that person, so they distance themselves. That brings us to the end of this episode. This was number 892 of Plain English. We'll be back on Monday with a new story. See you then. Listen up. If you speak Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, German, French, Italian, Japanese, Polish, or Turkish. One of the most frustrating things about listening and reading in a second language is being confused by unfamiliar words or phrases. When you listen to Plain English, or when you read the transcript, you probably encounter some words you don't know. When that happens, you have a few options. You can stop the audio, go look up the definition, then return to the episode, find your place, and press play again, but that's exhausting. Or you can just skip it and be confused. That's no fun either. But what if you could see the translation of the word into your language instantly without having to stop the audio, without having to look anything up? Well, you can at plainenglish.com. For each episode, we translate about 100 words and phrases from English to 9 languages: Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, German, French, Italian, Japanese, Polish, and Turkish. And we highlight those words in blue. All you have to do is hover your mouse over the highlighted word and you'll see the translation instantly. It works great on mobile too. It really makes listening a lot more satisfying, and it's a great way to expand your vocabulary in English. The best way to see these translations is to sign up for a free 14-day trial at plainenglish.com. During your trial, you can read as many transcripts as you like, all with the translations into your language. So sign up for your free trial today at plainenglish.com.